What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to Knock On, your ultimate source for all things MMA. Today, we're diving into some of the most brutal knockouts and intense finishes in the history of the sport. From devastating head kicks to explosive one-punch KOs, we've got it all. So buckle up because this is going to be a wild ride. Ilia Topuria breaks silence on Paddy Pimblett. Interaction for years, tensions ran high between Ilia Topuria and Paddy Pimblett. From a heated altercation in 2022 to fiery exchanges online, it seemed like these two would never see eye to eye. However, their recent encounter at UFC London 2025 weigh-ins shocked the MMA community. Despite their past beef, they shared a surprisingly cordial moment backstage. Topuria later addressed this in an interview, saying, "At the end of the day, we are athletes. When we step into the cage, it's war, but outside of it, there's respect." Pimblett, who is set to face Michael Chandler, had previously dismissed the idea of fighting Topuria. But with the lightweight division in chaos, could we see this matchup in the near future? UFC 315, fight announcement. Lightweight division heats up. UFC 315 is shaping up to be an absolute banger. The latest addition to the fight card sees Benoit Saint-Denis taking on Joel Alvarez in what promises to be a high-stakes clash. Saint-Denis, coming off back-to-back losses, is eager to get back in the win column. Meanwhile, Alvarez is riding a two-fight win streak, finishing both Elvis Brener and Drakkar Klose in spectacular fashion. A win here could catapult him into the lightweight rankings. Charles Oliveira rejects Justin Gaethje fight, focuses on title shot. After his win over Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira made it clear he only has his eyes on the belt. Whether it's a rematch with Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title or a showdown with Max Holloway for the BMF belt, do Bronx isn't interested in taking a step back. When asked about a potential rematch with Gaethje, Oliveira responded, "I'm looking ahead, not back." This statement leaves Gaethje in an uncertain position, with potential fights against Dan Hooker or Dustin Poirier on the horizon. Ian Gary talks Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Rising UFC star Ian Gary recently weighed in on a potential Topuria versus Oliveira showdown, calling it one of the biggest fights the UFC could make. While Topuria has been vocal about wanting either Makhachev or Oliveira in his lightweight debut, Oliveira remains fixated on reclaiming his title. Could this be the fight to determine the next title contender? Corey Sandhagen on Merab Dvalishvili's win over Umar Nurmagomedov. Corey Sandhagen, a top bantamweight contender, shared his thoughts on Merab Dvalishvili's recent title defense against Umar Nurmagomedov. Despite Umar's impressive grappling, Sandhagen believes that minor adjustments could have changed the outcome. "If I were Umar, I'd have stayed in the center of the cage and made my movements more efficient," he said in a recent interview. With the bantamweight division heating up, who do you think should get the next title shot? Jorge Masvidal calls out Colby Covington. Jorge Gamebred. Masvidal is eyeing a return to the octagon, and there's one name he can't stop mentioning: Colby Covington. Despite losing his last few fights, Masvidal believes that settling his long-standing beef with Covington is the fight fans want to see. Covington, however, has been focused on other matchups, including call-outs to the Diaz brothers and Michael Venom Page. Will the UFC make this fight happen? Rampage Jackson mistaken for John Jones? In a hilarious viral clip, a fan mistakenly identified MMA legend Quinton Jackson as John Jones. Jackson, known for his humor, played along before revealing his true identity. The moment quickly spread across social media, proving that even legends can have a little fun outside the cage. Raul Rosas Jr. sets UFC record. At just 20 years old, Raul Rosas Jr. has become the youngest fighter to secure 5 wins in the UFC. With his recent victory over Vince Morales, Rosas Jr. is inching closer to breaking John Jones's record of becoming the youngest UFC champion ever. When asked about his performance, Rosas Jr. said, "I give myself an 8 out of 10. I still have a lot to improve on, but I'm getting closer to my goal." Darren Till versus Mike Perry. Will it finally happen? For years, fans have wanted to see Darren Till and Mike Perry throw down. Perry recently reignited the feud by offering Till a $2 million fight under his Dirty Boxing promotion. Till responded, I never said no. Let's do one boxing match and one bare-knuckle fight. You and your team never got back to us. Will we finally see these two settle their differences in the ring? Joe Rogan calls for UFC rule change. Joe Rogan has never been shy about sharing his opinions on MMA rules, and his latest take has stirred up controversy. During a recent podcast, Rogan argued that strikes to the back of the head should be legalized. The temple and the eye socket are just as vulnerable, yet they're legal to hit. Why is the back of the head different? He questioned. While some agree with Rogan's perspective, many fighters and medical professionals warn that strikes to the back of the head significantly increase the risk of brain injuries. Should the UFC reconsider this rule? Conclusion. That's it for today's episode of Knock On. We covered everything from brutal knockouts to potential super fights and controversial rule changes. Which fight are you most excited for? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more MMA content. Stay tuned for more updates, and we'll see you next time on Knock On.